So, hi everyone, welcome to this Twilight session, which is focusing on accessibility. My name is Lisa Antani, and I'm tired of saying the same bit in this section, so I'm going to mix it up today with an interesting fact. I used to live in Japan for 7 years, and I once spent a long weekend living in a temple at the top of a mountain called Koyasan with a group of Buddhist monks. And I'm joined this evening with Michaela, who's also part of ADC's MIEE team.
Hi everyone. So I found it very difficult to think of an interesting fact because again it depends on what you think is interesting, but an interesting fact about me is that I'm a Wester Cleddon's loyal member of staff who has been a volunteer, then a student, then a probationer, and now a permanent member of staff here. So I've not been very far like Lisa has, but I'm happy nonetheless. And I teach primary 1 this year, and I'm the digital leader for the school as well as a member of our MIEE crew.
Cool. So in this Twilight session, we are going to go through quite a lot of different sections that you can see on the screen now. It's actually a huge field of learning. When I was doing research for this, I actually felt like I was going down a rabbit hole, and everything you found would then branch off into other really interesting things that you would then find. So today's session, we are predominantly going to focus on sort of basics of accessibility within Microsoft products, and hopefully give you an idea of some of the tools that are available to you. And to get us started, Michaela's just going to talk about potential barriers.
Thank you, Lisa. So when we think about potential barriers, we often think of the first 3, so vision, hearing and mobility. However, we also have neurodiversity and mental health. So additional support needs and disabilities can be either long-term or short-term or also temporary. So when we think about these, we really need to think about, so for example, something that could be maybe temporary, so something like a broken arm, which is going to heal eventually. However, when we think about maybe long term, it could be a child who has an impairment and maybe they only have 1 arm, or also we can think about situational or temporary ones, such as maybe having a new baby sibling, and we're not always just thinking about additional support as related to disability, what's here in front of you, but again, it's all about the child's circumstances and how these can vary and change or improve or not improve over time, and how we're constantly assessing and making sure that we're meeting the needs of every learner in front of us. So I'll pass back to Lisa, who is then going to show us a very nice clip about disability by Microsoft.
So Microsoft have been doing a huge push on accessibility, and what I really liked about the work they've been doing is that they have been employing people with particular barriers to learning in order to promote overcoming these barriers. So they are actively hiring people with disabilities, people with dyslexia, and all of these different things to help progress in these areas, which I think is great. They're exactly the sort of people who you need to be involved in this. And they launched a campaign about when everyone plays, we all win, with the all representing pupils, teachers, parents, and employers. So it's not very long. I was going to play it for you just now.
My name is Grover.
Sean. My name is Ian.
I'm Taylor.
My name is Owen, and I am 9.5 years old.
So Owen was born with a rare genetic disorder called Escobar syndrome.
He's had 33 surgeries to date.
I love video games, my friends, my family, and again video games.
It's his way of interacting with his friends when he can't physically otherwise do it.
What I like about the adaptive controller is now everyone can play. You can just say, all right, that's that button, that's that button, that's that button. Perfect.
One of the biggest fears early on is, how will Owen be viewed by the other kids? He's not different when he plays.
No matter how your body is or how fast you are, you can play. It's a really good thing to have in this world.
So quite recently, I've been doing quite a bit of research into accessibility, and I've attended a few of Microsoft's webinars, and they've shared some, what's in my opinion, horrifying statistics that I thought I would just make everyone aware of. For example, less than 15% of adults with autism are currently in full-time employment. Less than 25% of pupils with additional support needs who go on to further education are actually finishing their courses. And Angela Morgan's report on additional support for learning for the Scottish Government back in June 2020 states that 30.9% of children in Scotland face additional barriers to learning. Now that's huge. That's almost a third. 1 in 3 children in our classrooms in front of us. That's really eye-opening. And I think it's really imperative that we as educators do all that we can to level the playing field for these pupils, and I think that technology is a great way for us to do that. I'm just going to pass over to Michaela, who's going to talk about shortcuts.
Thank you, Lisa. So as we can see on the screen here, there are some different shortcuts, and I'm going to show you just a couple of these to show you how beneficial these can be. Now, if you've got school computers or computers provided by the authority, I'm using one of these at the moment, so hopefully you'll be able to see the benefits that we've got in front of us already. There are some features that we're waiting on being rolled out, but I'll share my screen and I'll show you a couple of these. Now, these are all in the Microsoft Edge browser, which is by Microsoft. So these should all be on the Windows 10 computers. So as we can see here, I've got the BBC News website up on the screen. Now, there's a couple of different things that I'm going to go through. So one of them is, now this is just really, really easy. So if you press Windows and you press the plus symbol, you can zoom in really, really easily. And this isn't just on the Edge browser, this is actually, there we go. And you can move around the screen as well. So if you come back out, so all you're doing is pressing Windows and pressing the plus. Okay, so you can see that it'll zoom back out again. So wherever you go on the screen, this little magnifier menu will come up, but this is really, really beneficial, especially if you do want to change, if you want to really zoom in on something that's on the screen. So for example, if I come over here and do it again, wherever your mouse is, and you can move the mouse. Now I'm not touching anything anymore, but I can move the mouse and it'll take me to different parts of the screen. So if I wanted to come over here and zoom in over here, if I wanted to come up, you can move your mouse around the screen. And then if you want to come back to your view, you would then press your Windows key and the minus symbol, and it will zoom out. So if you wanted to zoom in more than 200%, again, you just do your Windows key and your plus, and then do it again. So you can see 300, 400, 500. So you can really, really zoom in. So if there's something, perhaps if they're doing reading on a web page or something like that, you can use the magnifier to help you there. Now, if I come back to Microsoft Teams, it does it there as well. So it's if you're using a Windows computer, that shortcut, so you're pressing the Windows key and then your plus to zoom in and your minus to zoom out. So I just think that's a really, really useful one. So come back to Edge just now. Another one is Windows E. So this isn't for the Edge browser in particular, but this is more for if you're using a Windows device and you press the Windows and E, that opens your file Explorer, so E for Explorer. And if you are looking for a file, we do have quick access, so that will take you back to recent files. And again, it means if your pupils are working on a project or working on something on a device and they save it, they might not remember whereabouts they've saved it. However, if you come to the quick access part and then you can, scroll through, it might be there. And then if you think, gosh, I saved a couple of things in that folder and I can't really remember where the folder is. So you could then right click, and if you go to open file location, that'll take you back to the folder where the file is actually saved. So you'll see along the top here all the different folders I would need to access to get to this file that I'd accessed recently. So if I come back to quick access, again, here's something that I'd created earlier on, and again, you're right clicking and you're going to open file location, and that'll take you back to the folder that you saved that file in. Okay, so that's another quick shortcut. So that was to get to File Explorer, that was Windows and E. Okay. Another one is Windows and I. So if you tap Windows and I, it opens your settings. So this again, now the Ease of Access Centre, there is a lot in there. That would possibly be another training session in itself, because there's so much in this. But just to show you what we've got available in front of us right now on Windows 10, if we popped into the Ease of Access menu, you can see here, this is the size of the sample text that I'm using at the moment. However, if you are on a device that perhaps a child is going to be using this for a wee while and you think, you know, it's going to be really beneficial, this could be a device, even if it's a one-to-one device and it's specifically for them, you can change the settings, and it means when you log out and you log back into their profile that these settings should have saved. So as you can see, you can make the text much bigger here already. There's lots of different things in here. You can make everything bigger. So you can increase everything by 125% instead. So you can see here that even the web page, my bar at the bottom has increased in size as well. And you can change the size of apps and text on other displays, as well as the colour of your cursor and your mouse pointer, which is also over here. So if I go back to the 100%, that's what I'm used to working with. I'm a creature of habit and I'm quite used to that. So I'm going to move back to that at the moment. Again, if visual stress, especially if their eyes are sore looking at a device for a long time, some pupils find it quite difficult to be on a screen for quite a wee while. You can actually dim the brightness here, or you can make everything brighter if, you know, they're maybe finding it difficult to see what's on the screen. So again, this can be changed or adapted to whatever meets the needs of the pupils that you're working with.
Plus, again, as a teacher, a really good one to go into just in your own Windows computer in class, if you go into the cursor one and make your cursor much bigger, if you're showing them how to do something in Word or how to do a PowerPoint or whatever, following a really big cursor on your interactive board is so much easier than following that tiny little mouse that people are scanning thinking, where on earth is it?
That's it. So, and then again, you've got your cursor thickness. So instead of, if you're, you know, working on Microsoft Word, you can see that tiny little line there. You can make it much thicker so that you can, it's easier for the pupils to see on the screen as well. Thank you for that, Lisa. But again, there are so many different things that we already have, and this is all in the Ease of Access Centre, and that can be accessed by, I'll come back out again, and I'll just go to, so if I did Windows, and it was I, it pops back up to the settings, and then the Ease of Access Centre is there. And again, I actually quite like the bigger mouse. I'm going to keep that just now. There's lots of different things at the side, though. You've got your magnifier there, which we'd already looked at, so that is zoom level. There's invert colours, which can look quite strange to begin with, but you can also change that as well. And it's got under here, so you have to press Control and Alt and I to invert colours. Okay, so we've also got colour filters, which is it going to open for me just now? Hopefully, yes it has. Turn on colour filters, you can turn it on and off by toggling here, and allow the shortcut key to toggle the filter on and off. So perhaps if it's for one child who's maybe going to be using it for short term, if it is a shared device, I don't know if that would be at the moment right enough with everything that's going on, but if you're doing a shared device, you can toggle the filter on and off if it maybe doesn't benefit every pupil who would be working on the device. Okay, and then again, we've got lots of different colours here. So if I click this, is it letting me choose? Not at the moment. That always happens in a training session. It just doesn't always work the way that we want it to. There we go. Oh, allow. So I've got it grayscale at the moment. There we go. Blue and yellow. So again, I'm not sure if you can see it very well on the screen, but there are colour settings so you can make it more prominent, and the theme settings as well. But it's got a blue and yellow over at the top of the screen. So I'm just going to turn this off. Did you see the change in colour there? So if I toggle it on, it's got the blue and yellow filter over, and then I'll just turn it back off again, and you can see the difference. Again, you've got high contrast, which some pupils prefer. You can explore that in your own time. I've just pressed it, and there we go. So that's what we mean by high contrast. So if your pupils benefit from having the dark in the background and then the really bright writing, then we can do that. I'll turn it back off, and we're back to, there we go. So and then we've got narrator, which again, these are already built in. So these are really good if you want to go and have an explore. And then we've got use Braille, but this isn't something I've personally worked with, so I wouldn't be confident in telling you exactly how to download and install this. But again, there are things there. And again, if you're downloading and installing anything, it might be that you have to put a call in the help desk to do that first, before we go and try and do that. So if I come out of this one, the other thing was oh no, I think I've done it. Oh, we know our usual, I know you'll probably know all these already, but if you're copying anything, we've got our usual shortcuts as well. So your Control and C for copy. Oh, it's not letting me drag the text at the moment. I'll come on to the article. So for example, if you wanted to format this text, maybe rather than having all the images and things, or if you wanted a paper copy for your pupils, if they maybe prefer to have paper in front of them, again, you can highlight your text, you can right click and do copy, or you can do Control and C for copy, and then to paste it, you could, for example, we'll just quickly do this. You can do your Control and V for paste, and it'll paste all the text in, and then that will allow you to format it in maybe, it might be a different font. If open, there we go. If you've maybe got, because we have the open dyslexic font on the computers, now my computer is actually frozen. There we go. And again, if we maybe make it bigger, we could maybe change the text to maybe more of a navy blue, maybe to reduce that visual stress again. So we can do this all, again, just using copy and paste if this is going to help. Okay, so again, it's all about assessing what the learner's needs are in front of you and using what benefits them the best. So again, could be a lot of trial and error until it depends what age and stage they're at as well. And again, your Control and X cuts all the text, so it keeps it there. If you're doing copy, it'll keep it there. If you're doing Control X, it'll remove the text, so it's cutting it away. Again, your Control V, like as Control Z, and that undoes the last action. So again, you can do undo up here, but if you can see just here, it says Control and Z. See if I can zoom in now, that's open. So if I come up here, and then, oh, there you go. If I go up to the screen, and I'll hover over it, you can see it says paste. So undo, paste. So you would press Control and Z, and that will undo the last action of whatever it is you have done on your screen. So I'll zoom out. Okay, so there's lots and lots of different things already within the devices we're using at the moment, but I'll now show you a little bit more about Microsoft Edge. I'm back to Edge, and I'll go back to the BBC homepage. So if you were to do a simple search, here is the BBC homepage. We're just using this as an example. Now there's an icon. I'm going to zoom in because I really like this now. I'm going to do this all the time, I feel. And actually, I should be doing it already. So as you can see here, there is an open book icon, but it's greyed out, so we can't actually click anything there at the moment. But if you were to find an article that you wanted a pupil to read, you can then, once you click the article, now I've clicked something about Ford, because it's something different from everything that's going on in the news at the moment. So this is one here. So it's about Ford, and they've chosen a different brand for their transit engines for the transit van. So this is an article. So this is obviously the home page, as you can see, and then we go to the article here. Now, that way in the article, that will then allow you to access this read aloud function. So it's called read and view. So if we click this, okay, you can see the little book icon has changed to blue. So that lets us know that we're in read and view. And if we just come back here, this is what it looks like. And this can all be customized to suit your learners. And rather than scrolling down the page to read, it actually changes it into more of a, it's more like reading a book. It changes in a bit like a sway. When you scroll down, it doesn't actually scroll down. I'm using my mouse right now, and I'm not scrolling down. I'm actually going to the side, so I'm reading again from left to right, rather than scrolling down a web page. Now I'm going to unclick that, so it just takes away lots of the, the page looks very busy. There's lots of other stories and things all dotted down the side here, adverts and everything else. Whereas as soon as we click that read and view, and there's a shortcut for that, it takes you here. Now that bar disappears quite quickly. So if I was to come back out and then go back in again, we can see there's learning tools here. Now this is very like Immersive Reader, but it isn't Immersive Reader. So it's very like, it's got lots of the same options, but the only one that I couldn't find on the device that I'm using in school is the languages. So the languages is really useful, but this doesn't have that at the moment. But Lisa, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that is coming to Edge. That's right, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
Didn't make that up, that's fine, not made that up. So it is coming to Edge for the languages. But again, you can change lots of the themes just to really whatever suits your learners. So this might be, again, trial and error, depending on their age and stage, and or whatever their needs are. So again, if it's going to reduce visual stress, sometimes it is very trial and error with coloured filters and things. And then again, just like Immersive Reader, you can turn the text spacing on and off. So if your pupils benefit from having the word spaced out a little bit more so that the letters don't look like they're blending into each other, then you can turn on your text spacing there as well. Then we've got grammar tools, which this is managed by, it says, your organisation. So again, we would maybe need to put in a call and ask for this to be enabled. But again, we've got reading preferences, which again links back to what we usually call Immersive Reader. And you can do the line focus, so to reduce any, just any distractions round about, and really, so we can turn it on, and then we can go to, are the pupils going to benefit from 5 lines on the page, 3 lines on the page, or 1 line at a time? So is this going to work for them? And again, you can turn it on and off just using the toggle button there. As well as the learning tools, we've also got the read aloud function, and there's text options as well. So if we click on text options, again, if pupils are maybe visually impaired or they benefit from the text being a lot larger, then you can change the size of the text and the images, which is really nice, on this menu here. And again, you can change the themes and things. I'm always a dark mode person. I don't know why, but I quite like the grey as well. So again, it's really what suits your learners, and there's lots of different things that you can customise through Edge. So I'll just pop that back. And then the other one I really like, which is here, which is all built in within Edge on our devices, is Read Aloud. So let me see if you can hear this. So
chooses Dagenham for new transit engine.
So although that's a very roboty voice, we can then go to the person icon and it can change. So we've only got 3 at the moment. So we've got Susan, Hazel and George, and they've all got the English accent there. You can again increase, just like Immersive Reader, you can increase the speed in which they talk, or you can slow it right down. And again, there are more voices that can be added, but this, I believe, takes you into another menu, which I can't access at the moment. Oh, here we go. So again, you can download different voices. So if there is a voice in particular that's going to help your pupils, it might be to do with dialect, or it could be just easier for them to understand. It does tell you how to do this here, but again, if it is a work device, then it might be just asking someone on the help desk to help with that. So if I just come back. And another thing is Windows and Microsoft Edge is a really, really good browser, but sometimes on these devices it will automatically take you back into Internet Explorer. But one of the things I find really handy is to pin it. So when you've got Edge open, so if you've not got Edge on your toolbar already, you can search for it by clicking the search icon and then typing in Edge, and then it will appear. But rather than doing that every time, I like to just pin it. So you can right click the icon, and then I've obviously already got it pinned. I'll just unpin it so you can see what this looks like. So it just says pin to taskbar, and that means that every time you log onto the computer, Microsoft Edge will be there. So I've pinned all of these, so it means that they're there for me to just access really, really easily as soon as I log on to the computer. But if we come back to the read aloud, so you can change the voices. There's not many there to pick from at the moment, but again, that's something that could be explored. And you can pause and play. So if you only wanted to read one certain part of the screen, you can do that, and then you can pause it, and then you can click again, and you can press play after that.
www.bb.
And what's really nice is that it highlights the word each time. So each word that's being read, it highlights it again, just like Immersive Reader, as you've heard me say quite a number of times. So if I click here, and then I can keep it in this view, or I can go back to the original view from clicking the article. Now, within Microsoft Edge, there's also this tool here, which is called Add Notes, which again can be really, really useful, especially if this is very busy, but you're wanting to maybe like, for example, if you wanted to show that there's adverts within news articles, you could highlight this, and then it lets you annotate right on top of a web page so that you can show learners. And it's not just like a print screen of this part, you can do it with the whole article, so they could go through, look at different things, highlight different parts. You can digitally ink, so you can highlight, you can use a pen. So this would be maybe good for colour coding certain parts. So if there's pupils who maybe get a bit lost with the text sometimes, or there's different parts of the text and they forget which part's which, you can change the colour of the pen and you can colour code so that they can see. So the red part is the title, so they can identify that. This blue part tells you who wrote the article, all this kind of thing. The green shows you when the article was published, 3 hours ago. So again, it's good for colour coding, and you can also add comments. So for example, I could pop this on here and I could write this as the title of the article. So I've just clicked that speech bubble icon there, and I can then go on and annotate a whole web page. And once I've finished that, the pupils this can be shared with the pupils here, and you can also save this by, so for example, you can drag to copy region, so you can then basically copy this, but it doesn't just, it's basically like it saves it as an image, but it scrolls down. So if you've maybe annotated a whole article with different parts on it, you can then go to the bottom. I've then stopped there, so I had to basically drag my cursor over to here, and then it said copied. And then if I go into, for example, Microsoft Word again, I'm going to do Control-Alt and delete that. If I do your Control-V for your paste, it then pastes the article. Now, obviously, that's very, very small, but this can be made slightly bigger onto an A4 sheet size. So if I just pull this over, I can make it slightly bigger there as well. So you can actually, and this could then be, even if it's on your clipboard, so it means that you don't have to just paste it into Microsoft Word. You could paste it into a class notebook, or I could paste it onto Word Online. So I've done Control-V there just to paste that article in. It's obviously taken a wee while to load, but here it is, and you can see that the annotations are still there. Or again, you can insert this into OneNote or Class Notebook within Microsoft Teams. So if I just come back here, there's lots of different features on here. We also have touch writing. So again, we can maybe just insert a box. Oh. And then we can just close that there. There we go. Oh, yeah, so it's just went back to the pen. Hold on. I really want to show you this. Again, I think this is more of a feature that would be used within possibly a touchscreen, so they can, again, but it's just like using the pen. So if I come out of this just now, this can also be saved. Now this can be saved as a web note, so that it means that all the annotations and everything will still be saved in your favourites. So if you visit the web page again, the annotations are there. You can obviously create new folders and organise this however you wish. But also you can add it to a reading list. So this is really good for distinguishing between different websites. So you might have a favourite website that you visit every day. It could be BBC News and it's updated regular, but if you find something that you want to read, then obviously you could add it to your reading list instead of just favouriting the website. So you can organise that as well. So if I press X, I'm not going to save the changes at the moment. This brings me back to the original article. So if I think I've shown you everything on here for this, but for Microsoft Edge. But again, I'm just going to touch on Word, Lisa. just now, just
Okay.
while I'm here. So on the slides we had that in Word 2016, pupils can be overwhelmed with the various ribbon options. So if we go back into Microsoft Word, you can see all the different ribbon options are here, and it's the exact same within Word Online. However, if you double click, so if I just double click here, this will take that away. So it means that if they are using Microsoft Word to access anything here, that they can just see that really easily. And then just to get the ribbons back, or all the different options, you just double click again and you can bring them all back. So again, you can change views as well. So there's read mode within Microsoft Word. So this puts it more of a like a book view, really. So if you've got it in read mode, you've got your usual kind of standard mode here, which is like your print layout. How would it look if it was printed out? And again, you've got web layout as well. So again, without any how this would look on a web page, so to speak. And again, just at the bottom right hand corner, you can also zoom in, and you can drag that, toggle it back and forward to zoom into your documents. Just really easy, but accessibility tools within Microsoft Word. There's loads and loads that I think Lisa will also touch on as well. And again, for this review tab, we were just going over that there is an option to translate. So that's both in the Word Online and the full version of Word that's downloaded onto the devices. So you've got the translate and languages functions there for pupils who maybe have English as an additional language, or if they're maybe trying to improve their fluency and understanding of the language as well. And again, that's just in the review tab on both the full app and in the Word Online version here. So you've got your translate part in here. So you can translate a section, the document, and there's different preferences there as well. So is there anything that I've missed? Don't think so. So I'll pass back over to Lisa, and she's going to go on to the next part. So I'll stop sharing. There we go. And there we go.
I love being able to annotate on Edge. I think that's brilliant. Like getting the pupils to do that in digital research, like highlighting key facts and things like that. It just really helps them organise their thoughts. Yeah, so again, something that can benefit everyone.
Yeah.
Teams. So within Microsoft Teams, if you press Command and then full stop, what that does is it brings up a full list of all of the shortcuts that are available to you within Microsoft Teams, which are always handy to know. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. That was Command and then the full stop button. This brings you to all of these. Some of these you'll be using more often than others, but it's good to have a look through just to make you aware of what's there. The next thing I wanted to make you aware of is when you are in a meeting, if you click up on more actions, you can turn on live captions. And obviously that's a really good feature for people who have a hearing impairment. And hopefully at the bottom of the screen now you can see everything I'm saying. Another thing, let me just turn that off. So you can just easily just turn it on and off when you wish.
Lisa, just before you move on, can you turn that back on, and will it do the conversation if it's two people presenting? Okay. Yes, there we go. So if there are more than one person presenting, then both speakers or whoever is speaking, it will annotate for more than one person, which is really good. It doesn't always pick it up accurately, and obviously my accent might be quite thick, so I don't know if it's picking up correctly. But yeah, thanks. Sorry.
Yeah. It's great that it does that. I forgot about that little extra feature. Yeah. It removes any confusion from thinking it's the one person saying all of this, all of the stuff. So yeah, that's really great. So if I come off of here, turn off live captions. Another thing I wanted to make you aware of as well, just in general, within Teams, is I think all pupils could benefit from the sort of social interaction side of it, rather than obviously face-to-face interaction. It is a different platform, it's different media, and I think there's a lot of learning and conversations to be had about what is and is not appropriate, and what you might type in, for example, a playground chat channel to someone else in your class shouldn't be the same as what you might type in the Ask a Teacher channel when you're asking your class teacher a question. And although to a lot of us, that'll sound incredibly obvious. It's really not to children. It really isn't. It can come across as them being really rude, but I think most of the time it's just a complete lack of awareness. And when I worked in a nursery, I actually had a number of people applying for jobs or asking queries about jobs via our social media using really inappropriate text-speak language, which, given we were an education establishment, I thought was really inappropriate and immediately put me off those applicants. So I think we're doing children a disservice if we don't pick this up. And it's also particularly handy for pupils who perhaps don't like face-to-face interaction, and it can be a good sort of stepping stone between having face-to-face social contact. Just having online social contact via your class team can be a nice way of sort of bridging that issue if it is an issue for some of your pupils. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of learning to be had, I think, around what is and is not appropriate depending on who you're speaking to and in what context you're speaking to that person. So I just wanted to make people aware of that one. And there is also, within the PowerPoint, I've got a link of tips for keeping Teams accessible. This brings you to a Microsoft site, which is full of hints and tips for keeping Microsoft Teams meetings and live events accessible. There's loads of things in there, and there's some little videos and things like that you can have a look at, which is really helpful. So please do have a look at that. I will put the PowerPoint up at the end so that people can have a look. And the other thing I just wanted to show you too, obviously you're probably already aware of, is that when you are using Teams, if you just hover over a post, you can access Immersive Reader there. And you've got all your usual options of changing your text size here, your spacing and things, your fonts and background colours, which is really helpful, particularly for pupils with dyslexia, to change this. You've also got this one here, the parts of speech, can be really useful if you are looking at, for example, an assignment, a homework assignment where a child is on a piece of writing and you are saying to them their next steps is to make more use of adjectives. You could open the document up and highlight all of the adjectives and say, do you know, look at that, there's sentences and sentences and sentences with maybe just one or no adjectives in them. And it really puts it in perspective for them to be able to physically see how many adjectives they have or have not used. So using this can be really good as a feedback tool for all pupils, just to make them aware of their next steps. And obviously they can go back again and review the document, and they can use this to help them. So if they have got a target of making more use of, adjectives, they could do something, put it into Immersive Reader and toggle this themselves. And it's a good way of them being able to see how they're getting on. We've obviously got the syllables option in there as well, which can be really helpful for decoding, and the line focus that Michaela showed you earlier. The picture dictionary I find really helpful for some pupils too, to have that toggled on. So yeah, all the usual Immersive Reader features are available, obviously within Teams. I just wanted to...
Lisa, just the only one thing I would say is I think on some mobile devices it's not been rolled out across on channels and different things like that, but it is still within your assignments, like you've said. So you can still get it in assignments if you've got it maybe on an iPhone or an iPad, but when you go into your general channel, that option might not appear at the moment. But I think, again, it's something that has been rolled out, so it could take a wee while.
Yeah, hopefully they'll do that soon. I'm hoping for that.
It would be really beneficial.
Next thing I wanted to talk about is text-to-speech tools. There are a number of these available, and out there I'm just going to make you aware of a couple of them. The first one, which is really easy, you can access it within Edge, for example, just by right-clicking, or in the full version of Office 365, the new one. So this is something we're going to have to bring up, because the new version of Office 365, the full version that I've downloaded from Glow, is not the same as the full version that we currently have within EDC schools. It's an older version, so it's not available within there, within your school devices, unfortunately, but I'm hoping to look into that. But if you right click within Edge, it certainly works anyways, you can use Read Aloud. And the benefit of using Read Aloud, as Michaela showed you earlier, is it highlights as it goes and it doesn't take you out of the document like Immersive Reader does. It's in line, so that's quite a good tool. The other one is Ivona, and that's available to us for free, but you do need to ask your IT analyst to install it. And the good thing about Ivona, compared to, again, to Immersive Reader, is that it's in line with the document. It's not taking you away somewhere else, and it's just a little discrete toolbar that sits along the bottom of the screen. So the feedback I got from the accessibility meeting that Michaela and I attended with Linda Tate and Jackie Swan was that particularly in high schools, pupils don't want to be seen to be coming out of the document to go into Immersive Reader, where perhaps, certainly in primary school, a lot of pupils just won't care and they'll just do it. It was an issue for some secondary pupils where they don't want that, they don't want to be different, but they were quite happy with the little Ivona menu that came up because it is discrete and it just sits sort of at the bottom and it's not as sort of glaringly obvious. And the other one, which is actually from Cal Scotland, is Word Talk, and I've just put a little link to that in the slide there. You can jump to their website. And the good thing about Word Talk is that, sorry, this is a disadvantage to having everything in your house paired. The good thing about Word Talk is that it has the Scottish voices on it because it's made by Cal Scotland. So it's really great for having the Scottish accents. So I would recommend getting that downloaded and installed if you think that would benefit some of your pupils. The next bit we're just going to talk about is when you are creating and delivering content for your class in terms of that being accessible. Let me just share my desktop to show you this. So if, for example, I go into this very PowerPoint that we're using just now, if you click on the Review tab, you can see there is an option here to check accessibility. And this is something that's across the whole Office suite, so it's not just in PowerPoint. So you can create a document, click on Review, and check the accessibility of that document. And what it does is that it goes through and it checks how your document will work for pupils with visual impairments, and it will generate errors, for example, as it has done here, where it says here missing alternative text. Now what that means is if I click on that, if you have a pupil using a screen reader device, the screen reader can read Accessibility Twilight. However, a screen reader can't read a picture. It's impossible. It can't do that. So what you have to do is have alternative text that therefore makes the screen reader able to tell the person using it what the image is of. So if you right click on it and put in alt text or alternative text, you can obviously put in a description there, click generate, and when someone with a visual impairment comes to look at your to review your PowerPoint, the screen reader will tell them Accessibility Twilight, emit background image of whatever your description says in here. So it's something that's super simple to do. It takes seconds, but it makes your document that bit more accessible. So I would really recommend doing that. When you go through each of the errors, it actually explains to you how to fix it just underneath. So that's really, really helpful. It gives you links, it tells you exactly what it is you need to do to make that more accessible for your users. So I would highly recommend when creating content that you use that check accessibility tool. It's great.
Lisa, just a wee note about the alternative text as well. It's a requirement for if you're uploading anything onto a school website now that any documents that you do upload do have alternate text for those who require it. So just a wee point, but yeah, it's required now.
It's a legal requirement that has to be done.
So we need to be aware of it. So this is how to do it, and it's really, really quick and simple, as Lisa's just showed you. Sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, that's an important point. The other thing I wanted to make you aware of as well is where is it? Was it in slideshow? Yes, within the slideshow option, you will see here there is an option to rehearse with coach. I think this could be really useful and beneficial to all pupils and teachers. This is a great little tool that I recommend you have a play around with. Basically what it does is you hit the rehearsal button, you go through your PowerPoint as if you're presenting it. So if pupils are doing a personal talk, or if you're doing a lesson, you would just run through it. And what it does is it looks at your transitions, it assesses your speech. Are you sounding confident? Are you sounding nervous? Are you talking too quickly? And it basically generates a report and it tells you, it gives you feedback. So that's a really useful thing to encourage pupils to do, perhaps even as a little homework task to do at home if they're going to do a personal talk. Just advise them, do a rehearse with coach, because I think it's really, really difficult to self-assess yourself doing something like a presentation. And people don't want to be recorded and look them and watch back a recording. I think a lot of people feel really uncomfortable with that. I know certainly when I'm editing these videos, I scoop through the bits that I'm on the screen. So I think that's something that pupils and teachers could really benefit from, using that rehearse with coach feature. Another thing I wanted to just quickly mention too is when you're creating a PowerPoint in terms of accessibility. So if I go to insert a new slide here. Let's see here. Add a slide. So if, for example, I was doing some sort of daily schedule and I put in here, so we're starting off with maths, we're then going to do science. After that, we are going to do reading, that sort of the thing. What you can do is you can click on the design tab here. Then click on the little designer magic wand over on the right here. And what it should do, in some cases, let's just see, is it uses artificial intelligence to try and help with your content. In this case, I think it's because I'm in this template one, it's not working. But what it did when I did it before was it generated little icons that went to each one. Because although this designer option I find really handy for being sort of fancy and choosing themes and different things, it was actually designed by Microsoft using artificial intelligence to assist with accessibility. It was to take the focus away from people trying to mess around with designing slides and constantly searching for photographs and things. It was to remove that and to put in easy accessibility. So if you use this tool, it is actually an accessibility tool. So I just wanted to make people aware that that was there. And what else was it? Oh, the other quick thing that I meant to mention too is when you're in the full version of Word, just thinking of pupils with, for example, dyslexia, when you click on the design tab, over on the right here, you'll see there is a page color option. And you can quickly, I've taken that formatting from somewhere else, so that's why that's not working. But yeah, you can quickly change the colour here, and that can really help some pupils as well. So just be very conscious of your colour schemes. This feature is not currently available in the online version of Word, but I'm looking in to see if I can find if there's a quick, easy way around it. So I'll get back to you on that one. And I'm now going to pass you back to Michaela, who's going to talk a little bit more about creating accessible content.
Thank you, Lisa. So if I just go back into Word actually and show you, this is still, even though it's not available on the web version, so the version that would be within Teams here, for your page colour. So as you can see, when I go to layout, it's not there, but if I come back to here and I go to, it's not layout, sorry, it's design. Design, if you go to design, again, if you're using a device from school, then you can change your colour. And again, because that was an image that I copied, you can see, just like it did with Lisa's, when I'm trying to change the page colour, it's not changing the colour background of the image, so again, it would only be text. I'm going to just talk about a couple of things that you can do within Word and OneNote that can improve accessibility. So I'm going to do Control N to open a new Microsoft Word. Now that just gives me the plain page. However, if I go to File and New, it gives me different options for templates. So there's lots of different options already here. And if you go to Education, it'll search different types of ones. So this can just sometimes take away that stress of thinking about a design as well as the content if they are making anything digitally. So for example, if you're creating a poster or something like that online, a newsletter, so to speak, or anything like that, although I would probably say use Sway because it's amazing. Again, if you've got, there's templates here that pupils can then look through, and it means that they're not thinking about the design as such, and they're thinking really and focusing on the content, because that can be a task in itself, never mind having to think of making it look really nice and everything else. So there's lots of different templates. Again, there's exit tickets. I've not seen that one before. And then there's lots of different templates. You just click one and then press create, and it'll download the template and then it'll pop it in here. So again, that's just made them all ready for me and ready to go. So maybe the pupils would be making them and they'd be assessing each other and maybe saying, how did you feel about today and why? So they can create their own online as well. So that was one thing. So there's lots of different things in templates. Are there any useful templates? Sorry, Lisa, I'm putting you on the spot a wee bit here, but are there any templates that you feel would be really beneficial to go over? Again, look, you can make cards. You can make so much on Word. Word, I think, is always,
I think they've really upped their game lately, to be honest. There's a lot. There's like some sort of article type, magazine type ones that I quite like using.
Yeah. Let me come back. So I'll go back into education, back to school. There's loads and loads and loads. And again, we've got these on the ABC computers, so they are there. Trying to think of weekly posters.
There's a newsletters one, which is quite good.
Is there?
Yeah, you've missed it there. If you go back, there is a newsletters one there, which is quite good.
Let's see. Goodness, I can't even see newsletters. Let me go through.
See it?
Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, so there's a couple here. So look, even parent-teacher newsletter. So again, it could be useful for yourselves for layout and things, but again, we're thinking more about pupils. You can take away some of the stress by maybe using a template instead. And again, this would be something you'd maybe look it up first, and then you could show them how to do this. And it means that they can start exploring the feature and use it to their benefit. Another thing I wanted to show you was Smart Art. So again, I'll do Control N to get a new Word document open. I always end up with loads and loads of words open at the bottom. But if we go to Insert and then go to Smart Art, this is really good for graphic organisers, and perhaps, again, if you've maybe got dyslexic pupils who maybe benefit from mind mapping and different things. There's lots of different templates in here. Again, this would maybe be up to you as a professional to look through what template would maybe benefit your learner, or maybe use a couple of templates and then just talk to them about it and see what benefits them the most. But again, for logical thinking and different things like that, you can start off with a kind of mind map, and then you can help them to structure whatever it is they are creating. But again, there are so many, and Microsoft Word definitely has upped their game, because I think these have been about for quite a while, but I think they're adding to them all the time and just constantly trying to improve. And Microsoft are really good. So if you do have any suggestions, you can put it on the user voice website. So it's Microsoft user voice that you'd be looking for, and you can suggest things, and they do take things into consideration, whether you're a member of the Microsoft community or not. They are good at listening. So again, you can see there's so many different graphic organisers on here as well with Smart Art. So the way I got to that is, again, just going to that Insert tab and then going to Smart Art.
It's great for planning story writing.
Oh yeah, definitely, especially if they're planning their writing and they've got lots of different ideas, and then it's maybe about just putting that structure in place for them so that they can logically sequence those ideas to make logical sense. The next thing is translate options. So if you go to the review tab at the top, you can go to translate. And again, this is maybe good for pupils with English as additional language. You can translate the whole document. You can translate selected text. There's also a mini translator, so it'll pause on words that you've selected just for a quick translation of perhaps just a certain word that they've maybe not understood. Again, this is really good for improving fluency in another language and their comprehension and understanding as well. So, see if I can do this quickly. I'm very aware that it's 4 minutes to 5. So if I could just find some text. So for example, if I just highlight name and I go to review, translate, translate selected text or mini translator, go to selected text, translate your document, text will be sent over the internet. So just to be aware, yes. So again, you can then go to the different, so from now I don't think I've actually got United Kingdom English on here. No, it's not, but it's got United States. And then you can translate it to quite a number of different languages. So again, if you're working with a people who doesn't have English as their first language, you can translate different words within Microsoft Word. Just it's already there for you. I'll try and very quickly go to OneNote. So I'll open a class notebook. I'll come out of this Word and go to our little test team class notebook. There's lots of different things in here which again can help accessibility. So if you have got a OneNote page open, I've not got an example to hand, but for example we'll use this, just the Welcome to Class Notebook page. If you're using OneNote, this is the same for OneNote Online, or within the OneNote app as well. You can insert and you can do digital inking. Now, you can do insert, it's actually draw. So if you use draw, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of the next part already. So if you can highlight your text, just like we did with Microsoft Edge earlier on. You can highlight text, you can annotate, you can add text boxes and captions and different things. You can change colours, and again, this is all within either Microsoft Teams, but you can do it in Class Notebook or in Microsoft OneNote as well. There's lots of different features in there as well. And then you've got what I found really beneficial, especially not even just for pupils who are maybe needing help accessing text that's on a screen. You've also got, you can insert audio clips. So if I click the screen here, and then it doesn't work. Hold on, let's go to a page, another page. So I've got a pretend quiz here. And there's a Microsoft form, and it's not letting me add it. And I've got no idea why, but usually it's not even letting me click this part. Hold on. Sorry, Mrs. Davidson, I'm giving you another maths task. There we go. So here I am, in here. It's not letting me insert anything, Lisa. I've got no idea why.
You broke it.
Broken Class Notebook. It doesn't like me anymore. I'll come to here. So I've opened, so what I did there was I clicked the OneNote app. So this is the full version of OneNote here. So again, you've got your draw menu, lots more options within, again, the full app rather than working through Microsoft Teams. If you go to insert, you can record audio or video and pop it in as well. So if you wanted to record a short audio message just to explain what the task is. Sometimes it's that personal touch coming from your own teacher or someone who's an adult that's helping that pupil. You obviously work with different professionals and they work with different professionals and they'll understand maybe what you're saying. So if you insert the audio, there might be a lot of text that might just be a bit overwhelming for them, but if you just click record audio, it'll then, if this would work. It's not working for me today. Well, there we go. So it started recording me now. You can see the timer up here, and then you can pause and you can stop. And once you press stop, it inserts it inserts the audio to here as a small file. The only thing you really need to be aware of is that OneNote, you don't manually save. It should automatically save by syncing. So just make sure that your OneNote does sync if that is the case. And again, you can record video and put little mini video clips in there as well. And they're all embedded in. It doesn't take you out of the OneNote page or anything. It keeps you in there. And the last thing was all-time favourite. If it's going to work. It's not going to work in here. Hold on. Leaving you in suspense. My all-time favourite, I'll try this OneNote, is Immersive Reader. Now, Immersive Reader, as Lisa said, it does change the view. It can sometimes look as if you've been taken away from the document. and it can be very blatantly obvious if you are using Immersive Reader. But again, this is all direct within OneNote. This is OneNote Online, so this is through a class notebook, which would be the OneNote Online version. In the OneNote app at the moment, it's not there. So it's always in the view menu, so you can check beforehand what version you're using, because it's really complicated, isn't it, Lisa? Because you could have the most up-to-date version of OneNote on your own computer and you could have it, and then when you come onto a work device you might not have it if it's not the most updated version. Or again, just like I've done here, I've went into Microsoft Teams and I'm using, basically because this is a class notebook, it goes through OneNote Online and then it's there. So it's just worth checking beforehand that if you were looking to use the Immersive Reader tool, that it is actually in here for you. So again, if I click so it's View, Immersive Reader, and then we've got all the options that Lisa has already showed us earlier on, and that's where you would change your settings. Now, again, I'm going to pass it very quickly back over to Lisa. I'm very aware we are over. But again, there is so much content to cover, and this is only a snippet and an insight of what can be covered so far.
Yes, there's loads. Literally got a couple of slides left, which I will just quickly zoom through. So when you're within the Word Online app, I just wanted to make you aware of a couple of options you've got here. There is a dictate option, which is really great for taking your spoken voice and putting it into words. Let me just show you how that works. So if I click on it, there you go. Here is a sample sentence, full stop. You see, it's not entirely perfect. My voice isn't that clear. But it's pretty good. And you can just stop it by clicking here. Now, when you click on the question mark here, it gives you some help. So it tells you how to get started using it, how to change language and settings, and it also gives you a full list of commands of what it accepts in terms of your punctuation and in terms of your editing. You can say things like delete last 2 words and things like that. So it's really great just to be aware of all the various different options in here. I know of a number of pupils at Lindsay Meadow who absolutely love this, and it's been a game changer in terms of getting them to produce written content, because they just find typing or writing boring, but somehow dictating isn't. So it's a really great tool just to be aware of. Now, if this is too much for some of your pupils and they just never seem to ever be able to finish a story, something else to be aware of is, certainly in my school, if you've not got it, you can get it for free. There is a sound recording piece of software called Audacity. It's incredibly simple to use. You literally click the record button and you talk, and then you press stop and you save. And pupils who do really, really struggle with creating, for example, an extended piece of writing could verbalise that story to you, which you can then obviously play back and listen to just to give feedback on. So just to be aware that these options are out there. You've got this dictate option here, but you've also got actual just recording, straightforward recording to a sound file. Another thing to be aware of is this editor here. There is a bunch of great features within this, and you can have it check for all different things. The first time you use it, I would recommend just going through and checking out the various different settings. But once you've got those settings in, you shouldn't, unless you want to change it, you shouldn't have to go back. Obviously, if you click on something like grammar, it's now bringing up a grammar issue, which I can choose to ignore, or I can choose to correct simply by clicking on there. So definitely have a look at the editor. It can check for over 65 various grammar issues and refinements such as passive voice and things like that. So that can be really, really helpful for pupils, and make them aware of it and have them go through and look at the spelling and grammar issues and things. So definitely encourage pupils to have a look at that. And Office Lens. Office Lens is fab. Now, Office Lens can obviously be used with an iPad or a mobile phone. And what you can do is, for example, I took this edition of Hello World. If you're not subscribed to Hello World, I recommend you do. It's free. It's a technology magazine for primary and secondary teachers. and I took a photograph of an article on it, and it obviously put it on to my synced it with my OneDrive. You don't have to do that. You can just have it literally take the picture on the mobile device, and then from within that you've obviously got the options to change the background colors and have all the various different immersive reader options available. It's really, really discreet on a mobile phone. You can literally have a head, like a pair of mobile phone headphones, and have just one of the pods in your ear. So if you're looking at a textbook or anything like that, have the pupil simply take a picture of it, and they can put it into immersive reader and have it read that to them. And again, there's various options down here with the voice settings, the speed, and a male or a female voice. So I highly recommend using that. And super finally, the last slide was just to make you aware of further help and support that's available out there. Apologies, this has been super duper fast. It is literally a can of worms, accessibility. It really, really is. Even just trying to cut down just for 1 hour was incredibly difficult because there's so much great stuff out there. But there is further help and support out there. Microsoft have a disability answer desk that's free 24/7. There's also the MEC, which has got some courses focusing on accessibility. Cal Scotland is on your Glow tile. They're fantastic to contact. I contacted them before about a pupil who had an issue using standard computer mouse, and they sent me out some sample ones to try out, like different joystick ones and things like that, and the pupil got on really well with them. So they're really great support. If you think you have a pupil who does need support in terms of assistive technology, you can make a referral, and that will go through to Linda Tate and Jackie Swan, who are fantastic and are the gurus of EDC accessibility. They know everything there is to know. So there is additional help and support out there. And very last is, don't forget to redeem your codes. Michaela and I copy pasted them into the very beginning of today's chat. And if you're not sure how to redeem a code, if you click on the sway that I put in there, it gives you instructions on how to do it and explains all the different badges. But thank you so much for coming, especially with the gorgeous weather outside this afternoon. We really appreciate it. And if this is something you have found helpful and you do want to know more, Michaela and I talked about possibly doing further sessions, because it is just such a huge, huge area of learning. So please let us know if that's something you would find helpful. And thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. If you get any questions, you can pop them in the chat as well. Obviously, we know we are 10 minutes over.
Sorry.
But absolutely, it's so difficult to figure out what to include, what not to include, for you especially, Lisa, in this session, because there are just so many different things that might benefit different pupils. You're very welcome, but we really appreciate it, so thank you for coming.